Christmas candles beaming, gleaming, oh how happily they glow. Straight and bold and tall and low, the Christmas candles in a row.
Today's lesson is comparing and ordering rational numbers. We're also going to find the least common multiple and compare fractions. The Indiana Academic Standard is 7.1.2. A multiple is a product of that number and any non-zero whole number. An example would be the multiples of 5 are 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, and so forth. A least common multiple is the smallest multiple of two numbers that is a multiple of both given numbers. An example, the least common multiple of 4 and 6 would be 12, because 12 is a multiple of both 4 and 6. A least common denominator is the smallest common multiple of two denominators. You have to have a common denominator when you add and subtract fractions. Pause the video at this time if you need more time to copy down the notes. Don't forget to write a question as you go through the problems that we can discuss in class tomorrow. Example 1. Finding the least common multiple. Today the school's baseball and soccer team had games. The baseball team plays every 7 days. The soccer team plays every 3 days. When will the teams have games on the same day again? We're finding the least common multiple of 3 and 7. One method of doing this is by listing out the multiples, and in this case we're going to actually write them down. I do not require you to always write down all the multiples. I want you to get to the point where you're just doing this in your head. The multiples of 7 are 7, 14, 21, 28, 35, and 42. The multiples of 3 are 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, and 21. So the least common multiple is 21. In 21 days, both teams will have games on the same day again. You can also use prime factorization to find the least common multiple. This is very handy when you have pretty large numbers. For example, 16. The prime factorization of 16 is 2 to the 4th. 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. The least common multiple of the prime factorization of 36 is 2 to the 2nd times 3 to the 2nd. So the least common multiple of these, we're going to use the greatest power for each factor. So we're going to use 2 to the 4th times 3 to the 2nd. 2 to the 4th times 3 to the 2nd equals 144. So the least common multiple of 16 and 36 is 144. Pause the video at this time if you need more time to copy down the notes. Don't forget to write a question as you go through the problems that we can discuss in class tomorrow. Up till now, this should have all been review. Now we're going to start finding the least common multiple when you have variables. So let's take a look at finding the least common multiple of 5a to the 4th and 15a. Again, we're going to do the prime factorization. So we have 5 times a to the 4th. We have 15a would be 3 times 5 times a. Again, use the greatest power of each factor. So we'll have 3 times 5 times a to the 4th, which equals 15a to the 4th. So the least common multiple of 5a to the 4th and 15a is 15a to the 4th. Pause the video at this time if you need more time to copy down the notes. Don't forget to write a question as you go through the problems that we can discuss in class tomorrow. Example 4, ordering fractions. Order -3/7, -1, 1/4, and 2/3 from least to greatest. Keep in mind that all negative numbers are less than all positive numbers. So negative 3/7 and negative 1 are both less than 1/4 and 2/3. We have to compare each pair to figure out the order. Now my suggestion is actually to change all fractions into decimals. It makes it very easy to compare. We know that negative 1 is definitely smaller than negative 3/7. So we're going to begin by putting the order of negative 1, then negative 3/7. Really, the only other thing we need to compare is 1/4 and 2/3. Now you can compare those two by changing them either into decimals, which 1/4 is 0.25 and 2/3 is 0.6 repeating. 1/4 is definitely smaller than 2/3, so it would be 1/4 and then 2/3. So the final order is negative 1, negative 3/7, 1/4, and 2/3. Pause the video at this time if you need more time to copy down the notes. Don't forget to write a question as you go through the problems that we can discuss in class tomorrow. Try to find the least common multiple for the quick check 1A, 1B, and 1C. Pause the video, try to find the least common multiple, then start the video again to check your answers. 1A is 12, 1B is 20, and 1C is 60. Now try using the prime factorization method to find the least common multiple for 2A, 2B, and 2C. Pause the video, work them out, then start the video again to check your work. The prime factorization of 6 is 2 times 3. The prime factorization of 16 is 2 to the 4th. So the least common multiple is going to be 2 to the 4th times 3, which is 48. The prime factorization of 9 is 3 squared. The prime factorization of 15 is 3 times 5. The least common multiple then would be 3 squared times 5, which is 45. The prime factorization of 12 is 2 squared times 3. The prime factorization of 15 is 3 times 5. And the prime factorization of 18 is 2 times 3 squared. So the least common multiple is 2 squared times 3 squared times 5, which is 180. Pause the video at this time if you need more time to copy down the notes. Don't forget to write a question as you go through the problems that we can discuss in class tomorrow. Try finding the least common multiple of these algebraic expressions. If you're confused about it, I will work each one out individually for you to check. So if you want to do one together with me, then you could try the other two on your own. Please try to at least one of them on your own, if not all three. The prime factorization of 12x is 2 squared times 3 times x. The prime factorization of 15xy is 3 times 5 times x times y. So the least common multiple is going to be 2 squared times 3 times 5 times x times y. That equals 60xy. The prime factorization of 8m squared is 2 to the 3rd times m squared. The prime factorization of 14m to the 4th is 2 times 7 times m to the 4th. So the least common multiple is going to be 2 to the 3rd times 7 times m to the 4th, which equals 56m to the 4th. The prime factorization of 25y squared is 5 squared times y squared. The prime factorization of 15x is 3 times 5 times x. The least common multiple is going to be 3 times 5 squared times x times y squared, which equals 75xy squared. Pause the video at this time if you need more time to copy down the notes. Don't forget to write a question as you go through the problems that we can discuss in class tomorrow. Early in the notes, we did not do a lot with comparing just two fractions or two rational numbers. So now I want to go over how you can compare two rational numbers. If you have two fractions, whether they're positive or negative, you can do this. All you're going to do is cross multiply. So let's try this. Let's take a look at number 1, or number 4a. We have 6 over 7 and 4 over 5. To compare these, all we have to do is cross multiply. 5 times 6 is 30. Write that up at the top. Then 7 times 4 is 28. Ask yourself, is 30 less than or greater than 28? Well, it's greater than. So 6/7 is greater than 4/5. Let's try the next one, 2/3 and 3/4. Again, we're going to cross multiply. 4 times 2 is 8. 3 times 3 is 9. Is 8 less than or greater than 9? It's less than. So 2/3 is less than 3/4. With this last comparison, we have two negatives. My suggestion is whenever you have negatives, instead of having it right in front of the fraction, move the negative sign up by the numerator. So you think of it as -3/4 and -7/10. So 10 times -3 is -30. 4 times -7 is -28. Ask yourself, is -30 less than or greater than -28? It's less than, so -3/4 is less than -7/10. Pause the video if you need more time. When ordering numbers from least to greatest, we can find a common denominator if they're rational numbers. For 5a, we have 2/3, 1/6, 1, and 5/12. Our common denominator here is going to be 12. When I have a list of fractions like this, I usually find the largest denominator and then see if the others will go into it. In this case, that works. So 2/3 would become 8/12. 1/6 would become 2/12. So now we're comparing 8/12, 2/12, 1 whole, and 5/12. Well, the smallest number is 2/12. So we're going to write down 1/6 as our smallest number. After that comes 5/12. After that would be 8/12, so we write down 2/3. And 1 whole would be 12/12, so that's our largest number. For 5b, again, we're going to have to find a common denominator. Pay attention to the fact that we have 3 numbers that are negatives, and those are going to be our smaller numbers. So if I'm looking at the denominators of 10, 5, 2, and 12, I need to find a common denominator. I always look to the largest number. None of the other denominators will go into 12, so I start thinking about the multiples of 12 in my head. The next one is 24. The other number, 10, won't go into that, neither will 5. After that is 36. Again, 10 and 5 won't go into it. As I go through my multiples, I end up with 60 being the common multiple of 10, 5, 2, and 12. So 60 is going to be my common denominator. -3/10, if I change it to something over 60, is going to be -18 over 60. 1/5 will be 12 over 60. -1, we can just leave -1. 1/2 would be 30 over 60. And -7/12 would be -35 over 60. Now we can definitely put the numbers in order. Our smallest number is going to be -1 whole. The next number would be the equivalent of -35 over 60, which would be -7/12. After that would come the -18 over 60, or -3/10. Then we would have the 12 over 60, which is 1/5, and finally the 30 over 60, which is 1/2. Remember to write the original fractions when you're actually ordering them. We just do the common denominator to find what order to put them in. Pause the video if you need more time to copy down any of this work. Hopefully you've already written a question. If you haven't, write a question down that we can discuss in class tomorrow. Have a good evening.
Christmas carols